Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to PSVG 91, the official podcast of PlaySomeVideoGames.com. I am your host, Donnie Reese, and we're going to review Splatoon 2 tonight. Good stuff. I've brought some friends with me to help me do it. Kyle, all the way from Alaska.
Alaska?
Right? You're out in the middle of somewhere, nowhere.
I mean, Iowa, but I guess I could be Alaska.
Thing, right?
Sure.
Same thing, right? Yeah.
I could see Russia from here, right?
Yes. You got Palin in the cornfield?
Might as well. I mean,
you doing okay?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really excited to be here.
Good deal. Also joining us on this trio of Splatoon awesomeness is Caroline. Hello.
Hello. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm doing fantastic. It's been good. We had a good start before we started the show.
We did.
Good little 10-minute warm-up.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to review Splatoon 2. Caroline, it's your first PSVG review cast.
It is.
It's fantastic. So before we get into tonight's proceedings, let me explain to you the rules. We're going to talk about the game, all the things we liked, all the things we didn't like, and at the end, each of us are going to give an individual score that will then be averaged together for the official PSVG review score.
Sweet.
So it's serious stuff. You got to take it seriously.
Okay.
Put lots of thought into it.
We're ready.
Kyle, you can't give it a 2. Okay, you gotta be a legit score.
Hey, man, it's double digits. I promise you that.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, so tail of the tape. I want your stats. I want to know kind of your history, some background before we get into it. So here's what I want to know. Did you play Splatoon 1, Splatoon on the Wii U, the original Splatoon? I want to know how much Splatoon 2 you've played so far, whatever level you're at. And then I also want to know, are you using motion controls or using the sticks? Kyle, we'll start with you.
So I didn't have a Wii U, so this is my first Splatoon experience. Though I had a rough idea of what the game was all about. I had watched people play, I'd seen people play. Obviously, being amongst all of you, I had heard a ton about it. But this is the first time that I have played it. Number of hours, I don't know. I'm level 9. I was trying really hard to get to level 10 so I could do some of the competitive modes before we did this tonight. So my score tonight will be a preliminary score until I can actually get all that stuff done. But yeah, so I'm level 9 and I am playing with sticks. I have tried motion controls. I understand why some people appreciate them. I think I would have to put more time into them to fully grasp them. I see the advantages they could have, but right now I think that's for another day. I'm just sticking with the sticks at this point.
Good stuff. Fair enough. Caroline, jump in here.
I did play Splatoon for the Wii U, and I absolutely loved it, and pretty much unlocked everything. Really, really enjoyed it for what it was back then, but now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really outdated, really not as pretty and colorful as I remember it being, and I think that's a lot to do with just moving up to the HD for the Switch. I love the new one. I think I've played it probably at least 40 hours, maybe more. Like I've played a lot. I'm level 19, almost level 20. And I think the max level right now is currently 30, which will probably be bumped up to 50 soon, just like the old one.
I actually know somebody that's over level 30.
Over level 30?
Level 33.
Oh, wow. Well, I thought it maxed out at level 30.
Yeah, I don't know what the max is, but...
Oh, okay. I play sticks just because I played motion controls for a few times on the Wii U version, and I was not a fan. It's got to be really good for me to play with motion controls, and it's just, I guess I'm not very hand-eye coordinated, and it's sort of discombobulating to me, so I play with sticks.
Gotcha. All right, so for me to jump in, I want to say obviously I played Splatoon on Wii U. Played it a bunch. I've played Splatoon 2 probably for about 30 hours so far. My little Nintendo thing hasn't upgraded yet to tell me exactly, but I know that the first weekend I probably got close to 20, and I've been playing it since then. So I'm probably between 25 and 30 hours so far. Current level 15. I actually haven't played ranked or turf war in quite a few days. I've been working on crushing the solo campaign in hopes of getting to this review for the last few days. Motion controls or sticks? I've been defending motion controls for a very long time with Splatoon, and I played it almost religiously on Wii U, and I'm afraid to admit I'm playing with sticks.
Yes.
One of us.
Yes.
I didn't want to play. I didn't like playing when I first got my hands on it, first tried it. I didn't like playing it in portable mode, which is probably how I play the majority of my time on Switch. I didn't like moving it around left and right when I was playing because I felt like I was missing. I didn't like my view angle changing. I was like, I feel like I can't see everything I need to see. So the goal was I'll play motion control and TV and I'll play sticks on portable mode. But I play portable mode most of the time, and when I've tried to play motion controls, I feel like I'm having a hard time catching on for some odd reason. I don't know why. I wanna postulate that it's harder. Like it's harder than it used to be, because when I used to do it, I loved it and it was great. But for some odd reason now, I can't seem to get the grasp of it the way that I really like to. Like it doesn't feel real good yet. And in the last 2 days, I've been playing with motion controls on, predominantly trying to get into the groove. And earlier today, I came across a boss battle. After I died 4 or 5 times, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done with this. And then I just went back to sticks and I won. So I don't know, maybe my eyes and eye-hand coordination skills have just weakened since the last time I played Splatoon.
Yeah, I've never had them, so I wasn't even going to attempt it past like the first few matches on the original one. I was like, yep, this is for me.
The reason I've always defended is, one, I enjoyed it on the original Splatoon, but also like all of the pros play with motion controls. Like whenever I've seen Splatoon played competitively, it seems like they all do motion controls, and it makes sense, right? Like there's an advantage that you can see to it, even if you can't do it. Like you can see the advantage of being able to quickly go left, right, diagonally, quickly, just bang and shoot. But yeah, I haven't really enjoyed it yet. So
I think you got to be careful with that though, because I mean, obviously, I'm going to compare, for better or for worse, Overwatch and Splatoon a lot tonight. But there's a lot that happens like in professional Overwatch 2 that doesn't make it right for low-level players to do. Like,
that makes sense.
There's a certain level of like game knowledge and skill that you have to make the things they do work. Like if you take high ground but you don't know why you are or what you should be doing there, it doesn't really do any good for you to do what the pros do. So I mean, just because the pros do it doesn't mean it's always right for everyone to do.
That's true. And to that credit, I've even stopped playing with more like accurate or straight line shooting stuff. Like I've kind of been drifting towards the slosher and the aerospray. We'll get into that. But I've been getting into that because I feel like my aim isn't as precise as I want it to be. I keep like overcorrecting. Like I'll see somebody to the right and I'll go right and just go right past them, and then they'll shoot me. So like I'm like, I need a wider angle of spray here, something to give me I need a little wiggle room here on the left and the right and the horizontal line. But cool. It's cool that we have somebody that's never played it before. I think that's definitely gives it a nice spin on it. I'm impressed.
Fresh spin.
Yes, fresh. Ooh. Okay, so let's go over the offerings. Let's just kind of run down what the game offers for anybody that has no idea what it is. So Splatoon 2, new game, Nintendo Switch, exclusive Nintendo Switch, online multiplayer shooter made by Nintendo. Multiplayer features a bunch of different modes. We have Turf War, the rank mode, tower control, splat zones, and Rainmaker. Turf War is the one most people are at least aware of, people that are aware of the game. That's where you spray the level itself with your team's colored paint, and the team that paints the most wins. And obviously you can shoot each other if you want, but the real goal of the level is to lay down the most paint. Tower control, there's a tower in the level. You have to take control of it. The tower moves. It's got checkpoints. It's really fun. If you've never played it, you have to level up some. Ranked mode is just where you can do the turf war, but you get rankings and you can pair up with like rank folks. And that's the more competitive mode. I've tried it out, but I never really played it the first time, so I can't say that I've put a lot of time into it. Splat zone's like king of the hill. So you basically just control a zone. There's a zone on the map. You have to go take control of it, and you stand in the zone and fight for it until somebody else takes it, and you just kind of keep rotating back and forth. Rainmaker, I played on the old one. I haven't played Rainmaker in Splatoon 2. So if my memory serves me correctly, Rainmaker is where you have the Rainmaker, like the item that drops in, and you actually take it, and you use it until somebody else takes it from you. Correct?
You're trying to get the Rainmaker from the middle of the map to the opposing team's spot. And in order to do that, you have to A, protect the person who's carrying the Rainmaker, or B, if you have the Rainmaker, it is basically back in Splatoon 1, I think it had the ink tornado that it just shot out repeatedly. So you're defending the Rainmaker while trying to get it. It's basically like football. You're trying to get a touchdown with it.
Like capture the flag.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So these different modes occur over 8 maps. 2 of them are from the last game. So we have 6 new maps. And then you get tons of weapons, tons of gear, all new special abilities, which I do want to dive into a little bit more. So I just want to give you guys the opportunity to give me kind of your initial impressions just on these multiplayer modes, because these are the base part of the game. There are other modes, there are other things available to you, but this is really what people are buying the game for. So, Kyle, I'd like to start with you. You've never played it before. Just give me what do you think, man? It's your first dive in here.
Yeah, so obviously I haven't been able to play anything that is in ranked, which is the tower control, the splat zones, and the rainmaker. Like that stuff until you get to level 10, you can't participate in. I'm only level 9, so I haven't gotten there yet. At least that's my understanding. So Turf War is pretty much, as far as multiplayer goes, what I spent most of my time doing, and it was surprisingly fun. I didn't, you are like, okay, cover more paint than the other person, no big deal, or it doesn't seem on the surface like that would be something that would sound like it'd be that engaging or something you'd really, really want to do. But man, that mode is a fun time. And honestly, if the game was just that, I think there'd be still a really solid game here. I love the look of it. I love how, this is going to sound really dumb and minor, but I love how vibrant the paint is and that the paint colors change from map to map.
That's stupid. You're a Nintendo Switch owner. You like color now. That's a thing you can adopt.
So like, I just really enjoy that mode. I think it's a really interesting way to look at how do you balance, okay, what's more important in covering paint in a place or taking out the enemy? How do I balance, what my route is on each map? So as far as a mode goes, I think Turf War is surprisingly deep. It's very straightforward as far as what you need to do, but the decisions you need to do in it can be surprisingly deep. The games are super short, which is nice because it's definitely possible to get absolutely worked. Like there are games that I've played that I'm like, we are barely getting out of spawn. Like this is just not happening. And then there are games that I've played where we've done that to the other team. So how short it is can be helpful sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. It's a good time. If it's, like I said, if it was the only thing the game was, I still would be having a good time with it.
I'll jump in with my thoughts quickly. Having played the game before, I absolutely think you're right. I love I've always enjoyed the simplicity of the Turf War. I love that it's at the same time very competitive and at the same time very friendly for newcomers. I mean, the one thing that I've always brought up in the past when talking about Splatoon is it's the only video game, and I mean the only video, maybe sub Wii Sports, that I've played with my youngest child as well as my father-in-law. And we've all had a good time playing. Like you can just give somebody a roller and say, hey, go paint as much as you can paint. And they can have a lot of fun doing that. My kids just, they'll sit there, they don't even try to shoot anybody. The entire time, all they're doing is trying to win. They think getting to the top of that list wins. That's all they care about. Which I think is impressive, especially for a first-person shooter, because there's not a whole lot of shooters that provide that type of scalability. At least in my mind, and that kind of welcome to the genre, which I've always enjoyed. And then absolutely, you brought up the vibrant, the colors. Splatoon 2 looks great. When we were playing the first weekend, I was in chat with Caroline, and that was one of the first things I said was when we got the first Splat demo a few months ago, it didn't look that good. Like it's looked a lot improved even since then. Like it kind of looked dull, and I was like, I understand it because it's running on this handheld. Like maybe it just can't. And then lo and behold, you get the game and you put it on, and boy, it's a looker. It looks great. Caroline?
Yeah. Going back to what's our favorite mode or whatever. I don't play ranked as much. I think it's just a matter of I feel bad if I end up losing or if my rank falls or whatever. I just get the anxiety with the competition factor. So I am almost exclusively Turf War. Unless somebody wants to go at it and they're like, hey, you want to join us in Rainmaker because Rainmaker's on for the next 2 hours. It's like, yeah, sure. If I'm doing it with friends, it's one thing. If I'm doing it solo with randos, it's completely different, and I'm very intimidated by it. I'm actually finding myself playing more Turf War right now compared to the other modes that we're going to get into in a minute, single player and salmon run. So I don't know if that's just me wanting to up my level faster, or I don't know. I just, it's an addicting type of thing to go out, and I personally like killing people. So
Splatting people, I believe, is the term that Nintendo would prefer that you use.
Yeah. I mean, I like going after people and making them squirm and run from me.
You like those splat numbers? What's your highest splat total so far in a match?
14 or 15, I think. 15.
High. I got 13. I got 13.
I was playing against noobs, so
Noobs. Beating up on second graders?
No, noobs as in being, I was like in the double digits on my team, and they were all like little 2s and 3s.
Gotcha.
Hey, we all have to start somewhere. And I do have a question.
Yeah.
I'm hoping someone can answer for me. If I'm a squid kid, why can't I go in the water?
Ink and water don't mix.
Yeah, you're an inkling.
But I'm a squid.
You're fighting the rules.
Have you ever seen what happens to ink when you put ink in actual water?
I guess I've never put ink in water.
You should look up a video of ink going into water. It just kind of makes a cloud and then dissolves.
I just feel like as a squid, if I could turn into a squid, I should be able to go into the water. It's my only concern.
I think Caroline just schooled you.
She did. Absolutely, she did.
So one part is we started talking about these numbers. We started talking about these ranks, and somebody might listen may have no idea what we're talking about. So I just want to cover them quickly. So in Splatoon, specifically in the multiplayer modes or in turf war, as you play, you gain stats. You gain stats by how much paint you lay down. You gain stats by how many other people you splat, all that stuff. And you kind of, as you play along, you just keep building your rank. And it's not skill-based. That's a lot of people look at that and they go, oh, he's a level 13, I'm a level 2, we can't play together. It has nothing to do with it. Most of the rankings usually just time played. Now, you rank up faster if you're really good. You'll rank up slower if you're not. But it is, it's not necessarily skill-based. That's what the ranked mode is for, where you get, A minus, B's, C's, and stuff like that. Okay, so we got a bunch of new gear. Splatoon, Kyle, is this your first time? Splatoon's always been, it's like super popular, specifically because of the style. It's a real big thing, especially in Japan. Especially in Japan, it's massive over there. And as the little squids behind Caroline can attest to, people really, really got into the style of this game. So the gear has always been something that people love to get. And as you grind through these different rankings and as you keep playing, new gear becomes available. You earn money. You can buy new stuff and outfit your stuff. And these things come with new abilities, and you can kind of stack them on top of each other. And in addition to new shoes, new hairstyles, new clothes you can wear, you also get new weapons. And there's different classes of weapons. And that's always been a big thing. So there are like blasters. Then there are just, I don't know, typical guns. I'm not sure what they call them. And then you've got the chargers. Shooters. So then you got chargers, which are like sniper rifles. You've got sloshers, which are like paint buckets. And they I always kind of equate to them as like a shotgun, like to equate it to another shooter. It's usually shorter range, but wider spray. You actually have a sprayer. And then all of those weapons come with different sub weapons, grenades, sticky bombs, things like that, as well as a special weapon. And the special weapon is really a new thing for Splatoon 2, as I believe they're all new. We have brand new special weapons across the board.
We talked about this last time. They are all new, but they kind of have their counterparts from the original game.
Yep. And that was actually something I wanted to bring up. And that's I was trying to get to the special weapons to bring up this point. In my almost 30 hours of playing, they don't feel as strong as they used to. Agree?
Yeah, I do believe they've probably nerfed them a little bit just to make them seem not so overbearing. I remember when you saw an ink strike coming in the first game, everybody, was just like, well, here it comes. In this one, I can't think right now off the top of my head what an ink strike's counterpart would be. But for instance, the inkjet, somebody getting up into the air and launching massive bombs while they're, hovering in air, you can die by getting hit by them with their bombs, or you can die by getting underneath the inkjet exhaust. You can snipe these guys out of the air. They are not completely invincible. So I feel like the original game, the specials sort of had a feeling of invincibility to them, whereas this game, there are ways to get around it. These guys are not going to take you all down if they bring up their ult. I call it an ult. And I actually am finding myself liking the new nerfed or not nerfed weapons compared to the old ones. There's really a lot more interesting ways they've done it. Like the sound wave in the original game now is basically I can't remember the one that the stingray, the one that shoots through walls. It's basically the same thing, but I feel like there's a lot more precision to it. Yet there's just as much devastation. So you have to be very, very tactful in the way that you use these things in comparison to just last time where let's throw something on the map willy-nilly. You just literally tapped on the Wii U gamepad as fast as you could. I wanted to go here, and everybody was just pretty much screwed.
So in the first game, when I've been playing online with people and we've been chatting, I've been hearing a lot of people echo your sentiment. They kind of like that the things aren't so overpowering. I don't necessarily disagree, but I do want to bring up that in the first game, I felt like when you got a really good special weapon that you could really kind of turn the tide of the battle. And I don't necessarily feel that to be the case this time. As you said, like, they're powerful weapons, but you can definitely, like, you know, some of them aren't as powerful as others, and you can definitely, like, beat some folks. Two that I had in mind, that I wrote down on my little side notes. I missed the Kraken. So in the original game, you get the Kraken power up, Kyle, and you turn into like this powerful squid and you could swim.
It was ginormous.
Yeah, it's really big. It's like Jaws. And you'd swim and then you could jump out of the ink and spin. And if you hit anybody with that spin, they're done. That's toast. And then the other thing that I don't like is the armor. So in the new one, there's special where you can armor up or you get like this armor. The first one had the same thing, but it was a bubble. The bubbler, I think was what it's called.
That was the bubbler. The
bubbler was stronger. Like you could take more. Like the armor really isn't all that great. And I don't mind the armor. I just don't think it offers. It's not like a power up. I kind of wish the armor in this game was like a sub weapon. You could still do a power up. Like it, you know, you get shot with a real good, you know, you get a slosher and your weapon's gone. Like it's broken. Like it doesn't. Whereas the bubbler, you could run around for like, it's like 15 seconds invincibility.
Yeah.
You could just take it right to the enemy base and just turn it on and you just wrecking havoc for 10 seconds. And I kind of miss it.
My qualm with the ink armor is I absolutely always use Ninja Squid. When we are in armor form, if somebody triggers their armor and it hits all 4 people in the group, if you're swimming around in ink, the little glowy eyes give you away.
They give you away. That's true. That's very true. The only thing that I don't like about the armor, and this is kind of me bringing up my kids' qualm, my kids have been trying to run over armor people with rollers, and it is not effective. You basically just run into the people and just bounce off of them, and then they shoot you, which doesn't quite feel good because a person with a charger can just shoot the armor, knock the armor off, and then shoot them again, and then they're dead. So I was kind of hoping that maybe I don't know, like the armor seems too OP for anybody playing with a roller. And my kids, both of my kids actually, in a week of playing the game, they've given up on their rollers, and they played rollers almost exclusively for like 2 years on Splatoon 1. They never played anything else. And we played, I think we were streaming it. We played for about an hour straight where they were trying rollers and they were just dying left and right because everybody had armor and they were like, we're done. And they just went to in-zaps and shooters and they moved on.
Well, now granted, you're only level, what'd you say, 15?
Yeah.
And I think the only good, the carbon roller is available to you.
I've got the crack-on roller.
Okay, yeah, the crack-on roller, which is, I think that's the, no, never mind. I'm confusing it. I miss the massive gold and silver, what were they called? Like the level 20 unlock in the very beginning one, but like, you know, the massive ones that.
Yeah, the big one.
I just can't remember the name of it, but it looks like from what I've seen in the shadows of the weapons that they might not be there. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far to unlock, but I haven't unlocked even the silver one, which is the lesser of the 2 of them. But at any rate, I do think that rollers are not as powerful. I think they're trying to. They want people to use that jump and fling your paint.
And I don't
with
like that.
vertical swing, and I'm not a fan of it either. I like
Yeah.
the laying down as much as you can.
The jump makes you vulnerable, and
Yeah.
I don't think the reward is good for it because somebody can just go left or right, and then you're
Mhm.
stuck up in the air, and they're moving towards you. I have noticed from the first day of playing to when I just played a couple hours ago, I'm not seeing as many rollers as I was the first 48 hours. First 48 hours, I was seeing a lot of rollers, and now I've been in several matches where I didn't even have a roller, and if we did have a roller, it was like one roller. And they're usually lower level players. So the higher level folks, I think the higher level folks I've played against, they seem to be going away from the roller, which it's fine. I think it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
But long story short, Kyle, it's your first time in. What do you think about the whole style, man? What do you think about this gear grind?
So a couple thoughts. I played for probably about an hour before we jumped in on this, and I didn't have anybody in any of the games I played using a roller. Not one person. And I think the whole idea that, somebody's a higher level than you, that doesn't mean they're quote unquote better than you. They just spent more time is partially true, but partially not true because they have access to gear you don't have access to, which can make them better. It's kind of the Call of Duty story of like the longer you play, yeah, you're going to level up eventually and get better stuff. So you're going to have stuff that the level 1 person or level 2 person has no access to, has no ability to use. That's going to make you a better player. So skill-wise, you might be equal, but they're going to have some things that you just don't have. And, that's neither here nor there. It's not good or bad. It's just you prefer that or care about that.
Question.
Yeah.
I think that maybe actually goes a long way to making people keep playing. I think they're like, see what this level 12's got?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Keep playing.
I think it does. I think it depends on where you get your enjoyment from when you play. But I think there are a lot of people who like that grind because they want to get that next thing. I know Devin is a big person like that with Destiny, and why it's one of the reasons he doesn't like Overwatch is because there's no new gear. But that's fine. Like I said, it's just different ways that people enjoy playing games and being rewarded. I think one of the biggest difference I've seen from beginning to now is that when the game started and I started playing it, it very much felt like those special weapons were quote unquote ultimates. Like they were ultimate abilities that you pulled out that were like, hey, this is going to be devastating to the other team. And the more I've played, I think it seems like most people have realized they aren't that devastating. They're good, they're strong, but they aren't going to necessarily fully swing the tide of battle. So now I feel like literally, and this was happening a lot, is that as soon as everyone gets to, because of the gear they're using and the buffs they're using, they're wanting those ultimates to build as quickly as they can. As soon as everyone meets in the middle of the map for the first time, half the players are popping off those ultimate abilities. And that's like the first very beginning is just like, here, there's all these curling things coming in and people, it just is like mayhem right away, like in that first encounter. And I think the thing that surprised me most and I'm fine with it, but I wasn't expecting it, is that if you have that ability built up and then you get splatted, you lose some of that meter and you don't have it again when you come back. And for Nintendo to do that kind of surprised me because it's kind of feels bad, man. Like, hey, you did all this work to get your thing, but you weren't good enough to get away from that person, so now you can't use it yet, which I'm fine with. I think that's okay. It just surprised me. I didn't anticipate that would be that way. But overall, I think they added a different strategy to the game. I think it's cool. I don't think they're too powerful. I think if everybody uses them at once on one team and the other team doesn't have them, that can be a little overwhelming. But if it's one of those situations where people are just popping them off left and right, which seems like most people are just using them as soon as they get them now, I don't think they're too powerful at all. And they just change up the strategy that you have to do in those next couple seconds.
And the speed of the games, which you've already brought up before. It really, if you get into a match where you're just kind of, you're just outclassed either by weapon or choice of buffs and whatnot, the match will be over in a minute and you all get mixed up and jumbled again. So I think it really kind of plays into the game. You can kind of get different strategies. And as Caroline alluded to earlier, everything has a counter. Everything has a counter. So you can roller over people and they can shoot you from a long range, and then the charges shoot from even longer range, but you can get behind them. And, so everything seems to have a counter.
Everything has a counter. As long as you knew ahead of time to bring it into the match, because true. You can't switch to anything.
True. That's true. We'll hold that. You do realize that there is a buff. There's buff to save your special meter after you get splattered, right? Do you know that?
I did. Yeah, I knew that was okay.
That's a powerful one, especially when you're being camped on. So like when they're camping in your spawn point, if you've got that buff and you can get a special weapon off and all of a sudden you spawn and go into like bazooka mode and start blowing folks away, that can really help out, but it's hard to do it. It's really hard to do it. So we talked about new gear, talked about style, new special weapons. We have a question. Amy asks, what's your favorite weapon / loadout? Caroline.
Right now it is, I am mained Aerospray MG as soon as I've unlocked it. And I'll probably upgrade to Aerospray RG once I get that unlocked. That's the gold alternate. I absolutely love the curling bomb rush for the special weapon or the ult. It is a game changer in the end, because if I get my special within 5 seconds of the game ending and I automatically start smashing those bombs out, it can be over, because as the match will not end even though time's up until all those bombs explode. So you don't know how much turf you could be around and actually inking until all those bombs explode. And I've been shocked by the amount that I've gotten covered in just those explosions in the last couple of seconds. So that is definitely my weapon of choice right now. It remains to be seen what I will be using in the future. I'm a shooter, so I don't like chargers. Rollers used to be my thing in Splatoon 1, but I quickly got over them. And I've never really been a fan of picking up the sloshers. They're just too close range, and I like to be able to snipe my people from at least a reasonable distance. And what's the other one? Oh, the blasters. Blasters I just can't stand.
I'm going to jump in. I also am doing the Aerospray. I think a lot of people are. It's interesting to point out Nintendo's already patched Splatoon 2. There's already a patch came out last night. Surprised they didn't nerf that a bit, because I'm seeing a lot of Aerospray rollouts. I think because of those curling bombs. I'm not using it in the fashion that you are, but I will say all of my buffs, so my shoes, my shirt, my hair, my headgear, all of that stuff is all kind of geared at me getting my special faster, because I'm using the curling bombs to open up lanes like in the middle of the map. So like my main strategy has been rush to the middle of the map, spray as much as you can, and hopefully by the time you get there with all these buffs, you'll have a special. And I just kind of throw curling bombs in all directions to give pathways for my other team members to kind of infiltrate. And because the middle of the map is really where the action is, but it's also where the middle of the map is usually the biggest area. So it's usually the area that's under the most, it's usually the area, like if you win the middle, usually you win. Not always, definitely not always, but typically it's a real quick way to turn the tide. If you're behind, you want to try to take the middle of the map, because that's where you'll get the most of the stuff. Before I turn it to Kyle, my kids' loadout, until they can completely switch to shooters, has been the roller, and all of their buffs have been speed. So speed, not swim speed, good. Like run speed.
Yeah.
And you can get a roller. If you haven't tried it yet, even if you don't want to play as a roller, I ask you to just try it, because you'll be amazed at how fast you'll run.
Super fast.
Yeah, if you go headgear, clothes, shoes, all speed with a roller, you just like take off. You just run away from the rest of the team.
Especially if you've got like, number one, paintbrushes are actually a form of roller, but because they are smaller and lighter, you can, I've seen somebody on my team and like port mackerel, and you see them and the match starts and boom, they go around a corner and they're gone. Carbon roller is the lightest one for just a regular roller, and I've also seen people zip around on those pretty fast. So they might not be as damaging, but you can definitely get away from some people if you've got the buffs.
So the tactic that my son's been deploying is all speed carbon roller, and he just runs away from me to try to shoot him. And all he does is look for where the other team's paint is, and he just runs to it and tries to cover as much as he can, dies, keeps doing it. He's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He didn't even try to run over people. He just stopped. He's like, and it's funny because you'll see somebody show up with an Aerospray or like an InZap, and you'll see them in front of him, and he'll turn and just go the opposite direction. And you can
completely get away.
Yeah, you got to think they're like trying to get him. He just takes off. It's just like the Flash. You're like, I can't even reach him. Like, you can run faster than you can swim.
And you know what? That's a tactic that some people use. I've been on the tail end chasing people, trying to gun them down, and have not been able to catch them.
I mean, that was definitely something that you couldn't do like in the first game with a roller. Like even with the speed buffs, you weren't that fast. Like with this, you actually can go.
I don't know. The people that, we haven't gotten to the sea snails yet. When we get those in Splatfest, then you're able to roll your stats. And I saw people that had, swim speed up or run speed up. And then, they re-rolled until they got 3 run speeds up. And they were pretty wicked fast then. But I mean, for the time being, it is pretty fast for not having people with all of those really I don't want to say nerfed buffs, but yeah, if you sit there and re-roll your slots enough and you just do it to get run speed up, that's breaking the game almost a little bit, in my opinion.
You're the Flash. Kyle, what's your loadout?
Well, it's going to sound like a broken record. I am currently using the Aerospray MG. My strategy is, I know my strategy is similar to Donnie's, is that I get to the middle of the map as fast as I can. At that point, because my point is trying to build my bus as fast as I can, I almost always have my curling rocks, and then I throw 2 out, swim and follow them, throw 2 out, swim and follow them, and then I'm pretty close usually to the enemy spawn at that point, and then invariably 2 or 3 of them come after me, and then my rest of my team can just go ahead and finish filling in the middle of the map. So that is my strategy. That is what I do. I will say I am a little disappointed. I pride myself in shooters in general in being that person who doesn't do what everyone else does. So I am now going to change, which is probably really dumb, but this is just the way I am. I'm going to do something different, because invariably 6-7 people, you have like 6 or 7 people who are doing Aerospray MGs, you have 2 people running Splat Dualies, and you have 1 other random person doing something random. That is basically every game right now. So I really want to explore different things and do different things and try to be successful doing things in a unique way. I'm having fun right now. I think it's great. I just like trying to say, okay, if this is what everyone's doing, let's go explore some new ground. Let's see what else we can do. So when I play next time, I will be switching it up probably to roller. I'm going to go roller, and I'm going to go super speed. We'll see if it works. That sounds like a great idea.
It may not work, but I'm telling you, it's definitely fun.
That's fine.
I'm going to tell you, once you get higher up in level, you have more weapons available to you, and it is absolutely crucial that you experiment with what you're good at and what the weapons have to offer, especially in terms of sub-weapons and special weapons. Because originally, like I said, in Splatoon 1, I manned the roller probably for the first couple of months until finally I realized I've gotten pretty good with these shooters, and I have not used a roller except, you know, the ink brushes and the octo brushes just when they came out, and I was like, oh, these are cool. I haven't used them since. And it's just all about what you're comfortable with. It might be, you know, the popular thing or the common thing that everybody does, but I really think it will behoove you to experiment with what you get in the long run. Once you get up in behoove. Thank you. It's a good word.
Yeah, it is.
The more you know here at the PSVG podcast. But since we all said Aerospray, I'll say the B to my A is the InZap. I just think it's a solid all-around shooter. I don't think you can ever go wrong with it. It shoots pretty straight. It's got a good range. I think it's a longer range than Splattershot.
It's a longer range, but it is more of a concentrated shot. Yeah. You don't have any room for error. You gotta hit your target.
And it's good ink. The only thing that I've never enjoyed about the rollers, the reason I gave up on them, Caroline, back me up if you think this is true. For some odd reason, for as much as I would roll, and I would spend the entire time trying to just lay down paint, I would always, I never finish the top of my team. I'd always finish like 4th or 3rd. I'd feel like they don't put down as much paint.
I agree. I think it's because unless you have that speed factor, you're not going to be the one that's out there moving around. I also feel like in the beginning of Splatoon 1, people didn't really know how to go against a roller. They kind of freaked out and ran from them or swam away from them. But eventually people learned you can't just steamroll somebody. Somebody can back up and shoot you from a distance and you're done. But now that rollers are eventually rollers got to the point where you're supposed to fling your ink. And now with the whole vertical flinging, I'm curious to see why people aren't bringing or adopting the use of rollers more. It's kind of perplexing, and maybe people are just waiting for a stronger roller. Like I said, I feel like what we've got now, for at least up to my level, we don't have a lot of powerful rollers that can get the job done.
Yeah. You know, Kyle, you brought up the Splat Dualies. That's the new thing to Splatoon 2, if you didn't know. They weren't in Splatoon 1. And the byproduct of the Splat Dualies that makes them such an effective weapon is that it gives you the ability to dodge left and right. And let me tell you, that's a powerful buff. When you come across somebody that knows what they're doing with one of those, it's like shooting like a grasshopper or something. You're just left, right, because they can just constantly pop back and forth. The only success I've really found is to paint the ground. So when they try to pop over to the left, they just fall in your ink and they slow down.
Get stuck. Yep.
But I mean, it's definitely like some Ninjara stuff going on. I've made the claims on our chats that I feel like in 6 months, everybody's going to be splat dueling because the guns themselves are actually fairly efficient. Like you can lay some paint down, and then this ability to dodge left and right makes it feel more like a standard shooter. And I feel like the more people that play it and they get more experience, like I feel like they're going to, maybe there might be a trend to lean that way. What do you guys think?
I actually used the in-parry splat dualies for a little bit. They are the second splat dualies that you get, I believe. And maybe I'm just not good with the dodging yet. I haven't developed a technique. I was pretty much just spamming B the entire time trying to dodge. And it does not work. I kept getting splatted like crazy. And I was not putting all as much ink down as I was with my aerospray. So I personally am not going to go to the splat dualies. I have noticed a lot of people using them recently, probably one on each team of 4 that I've been playing with. I can't stand people that use them though, just because they can get out of the way. And I am just, if I'm not using something that can,
I can't stand these people.
Can't stand it. No. Yeah. So they're not for me. I think they're a great addition to the game, and I commend Nintendo for, you know, coming up with new stuff. But it's not something for me, and I don't like being against people that use them. So screw you guys.
I definitely. Go ahead.
I was saying I could see them becoming very, very popular. Just in watching the people who play them and seeing the way that they play with them, I think that your assessment is very accurate. That if you have played other shooters, they might be something you gravitate towards. So I think with the number of probably newer people who are playing Splatoon 2, that will feel a little more at home for them. So I could see a lot of people gravitating towards that and kind of taking the time to figure those out. And I could see them being a big part of the metagame and what people are playing regularly for sure.
I definitely think they'll be a favorite of competitive players. The short amount of time that I did play some ranked, I see them more often. Caroline, you mentioned the sloshers and that you don't really play with them. You never really play with them. I can tell you in the ranked mode, especially the higher ranked mode, I'm not very good, but the higher ranked mode, people play with them a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially Splat Zones. You're right up on it. And I did play with them during Splat Zones and some ranked matches, but like I said, I don't really play ranked battles as much. I'm gonna have to dive into it if I want to unlock League Battle. But it's my husband's thing more than it is my thing.
Especially because on those modes, especially at the higher levels, like the combat becomes closer, you know, and I think those weapons have more value there than they do just in regular old turf war. But next question. Delvin asks, I don't have any friends. Is Splatoon 2 good for me? Kyle?
Well, it's perfect for you because you're not gonna be able to talk to anyone anyway. So it's the perfect multiplayer game for you to play. But just aside, it's fun. Like turf war by yourself, or even if you're playing with people, it's a good time. So I think it can be. And I know we're gonna talk about the single player soon. The single player is pretty robust. It surprised me at how robust it is and how fun it is. So I think even as an individual, if you enjoy jumping online and playing some multiplayer action, is definitely a game for you. If you were like, no, I only want a single player experience, then no, I don't think it is. But I think if you enjoy playing multiplayer games by yourself, absolutely, totally worth it.
Caroline?
I had one friend that had Splatoon on the Wii U, and I still played the Jesus out of it. It is incredibly addicting. It's also nice that if you don't like the people you're playing with, you don't have to, I mean, you can get rid of them. You can bow out of the room that you're in and you can get out. Who cares if you're not playing with people you know? Most of the matches that I've played are not with people I know. I love playing with my friends when I do have a chance to do that. But you know, it's not a necessity. The good thing about Switch is that if you link up with a player and the player says, hey, I kind of respect your playing style, I really like what we did together, they can send you a friend invite through Splatoon 2. You can accept their invite, and then you can find them whenever they're online and join up so you can play together again. So maybe it's a way to make friends if you are really desperate. I don't want to say desperate, but if you're really looking for the companionship of playing a game with Donnie is just laughing, and
companionship.
What do you want me to say? I don't know.
Donnie, people play games for different reasons. It's okay.
Yeah,
I play Splatoon 2 for companionship.
I mean, come on.
Okay. Hey. To each, I've been told I can be a little brash, so I accept that as a style of gameplay and a desire in life.
Okay.
Delvin, to answer your question, I actually think Splatoon 2 has placates to the single player, even above and beyond the aforementioned robust single player. My son plays this game single player. He plays by himself. Even when he plays online, he's playing with other people. He's not talking to them, has no idea who they are, doesn't care. He's just playing. It's no different than if you were playing like with bots. The only difference is they're better than bots. So in that respect, I kind of think it offers a lot to a single player. You can play single player, and you can also just play your solo mode. Kyle, you mentioned the word Destiny. And when Splatoon 1 came out, that was a game that I actually heard brought up a lot when they were talking about it, specifically to that loot grind. And there kind of is an addictive single player take on leveling up, getting better loot, equipping yourself and jumping back in and doing it again and again. You don't need friends to do that. And I enjoy playing with friends. I think it's fun when we can chat, but I can't say that I've played the majority of the time I've put in Splatoon 2 so far has been just me by myself. I haven't been chatting with friends the whole time. So if I've played the game for 27 hours, I've probably played with friend for 2 hours. Hasn't been, it's definitely the minority there. So I think Splatoon 2 is a great fit for single player and multiplayer folks alike. Speaking of the single player, Caroline, no spoilers here. The game's been out less than a week. So let's not jump all over all of the storyline.
These people be spoiling it for me because I've only gotten past number 2 boss. So that's it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go over it. There is a single player mode. It's Octo Canyon. It's got 5 worlds, consists of 32 levels. It's 27 stages and 5 boss battles. Each stage has a sunken scroll as well as what's the other thing? Help me, Caroline. There's like some perennium, palladium, or something like that. I don't know. Sardinium. There you go.
It is basically like a little metal shaped gear that's supposed to be a sardine, but you use it for leveling up your stuff,
upgrading those weapons. I'm through so the boss that I was on earlier that I couldn't beat was the world 4 boss. So I'm on the final world. I haven't beat it yet. I'll probably beat it tonight or tomorrow.
I think Brian's going to do it for me, and I'm just going to have to experience it for myself later on.
I enjoyed the World 2 boss. Gave me some challenge.
He was really fun. Yeah,
pretty good. So Splatoon single player, even in the first one, was really good. Good level design. Splatoon 2's single player is a step up from Splatoon 1's in a lot of ways, and specifically the level design. Not only is it a great training ground to teach you how to play the game, but it also exposes you and forces you to at least learn like a base level aptitude of the different weapon classes, which I really enjoy. There's also a lot of variety. There are levels that are placated on platforming, where you're doing like these ink grinds and you're jumping back and forth and you're scaling walls and you're learning how to paint and move, which is nice. It teaches you how to move about a level. Then there are levels where you fight the octolings, and you're actually getting some fire back. You're taking on some enemy opponents. That's great, especially for like newcomers. But overall, the levels are much grandiose in Splatoon 2 than they ever were in Splatoon 1. Like I remember when I broadcast my first solo campaign over the last weekend, my first level, I jumped in the first level. That first level was like 4 levels from Splatoon 1. They're so much bigger, and they're so much longer. There's a lot more content here. Like the first Splatoon 1, you'd get like a mechanic and you'd scale like maybe 2 platforms and you're done, and that was the level. And in Splatoon 2, like every level feels like there's like 4 or 5 sections. So you get through that first section, and then you got another one and another one and another one, and then they all kind of mix stuff together. So without spoiling any of the story, and there actually is a story. It's not a great story. It's a small story. Caroline probably disagrees with that, but I mean, it's just a story. I'm not like infatuated with it, but it's something to string you along. But really, the gameplay is great. you'll get some Mario Galaxy vibes in there. There's definitely like some pull from some of that, some Sunshine, some Donkey Kong. It's fun. It's definitely rewarding. I can't wait to finish it. Kyle, have you played some single player?
I have. I'm actually basically where Caroline is. I haven't beaten the second boss, but that's where I'm to the second boss. And it's actually been really surprising to me. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it was basically going to be a tutorial of like, hey, here's what all the weapons are and how you use them. And that's kind of what it is, but they do it in a really they do it the way Nintendo does it, which is really quality. Because realistically, a lot of Mario games are like, hey, here's a new mechanic we're going to teach you to use, and here's the level to teach you how to do it. That's basically what Splatoon is, maybe not quite to the same level, but just over and over and over again of like, hey, here's this new weapon or here's this new ability that we haven't talked to you about. Here's how you can do it in some really cool and different ways. I wish more of it translated directly into the multiplayer, but I'm really happy with everything that I've experienced so far. I think, yeah, the story is, it's fine, but the gameplay is good enough that even if you don't care about the story, it's still fun enough to continue on and go on. I didn't really know, I had like I said, I had pretty low expectations for it, and I didn't think if I would even finish it, but it's definitely, like when I sit down to play now, I'm like, do I go to Turf 4 or do I go keep working on single player? And the fact that I even have to think about it to me says that it's a win for that single player mode.
It's definitely a great option. Like, let's say you're playing the Switch. Let's say you're on the bus or something. You don't have network. That's still it's worthy of your time to jump in and give it a go. Caroline?
Well, I played the most single player that I had all week. It's almost been a week. Only yesterday, because why did Nintendo take down the servers like at the prime time for everybody to be playing in America? I don't understand. They
got to patch those servers. Stability updates.
Ridiculous. Do it while your Japanese players are at work. No. I'm saying while they're at work in the middle of the day and we are sleeping, and that is the opportune time.
Don't hinder us Americans. We don't want to leave.
They didn't even announce it. I mean, it was just all of a sudden I'm playing, and then why can't I get out? I thought my internet went out. I was mad, and then I was just like, well, at least I got single player. Couldn't even do Salmon Run. We'll get to Salmon Run in a little bit. But yeah, it is definitely much more in depth than the original one was. I was shocked. I was like, okay, checkpoint. How many of these are we going to go through? Because last one, I remember literally getting maybe 2 checkpoints before you get to the final checkpoint. I think I ended up going through 5 on the first world.
Like the first level. Yeah. You're just like, wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I found trouble with the first boss. I was at first, I ended up beating it in the first go, but he was a little bit more tricky than the bosses of the original game. I think they've kind of stepped up their boss level design. And like we were talking about, boss 2, he's a trip. I had to actually look and be like, is he on a unicycle?
Yes, he is.
Yep, he sure is.
I'm gonna give a small spoiler.
Huh?
I'm gonna give a small spoiler.
Okay.
So for the folks that are playing, when you get to World 2's boss, you have to play it with a roller. And it really hammers it down. Like, it would be so much better if you could switch. But no. God, I was really upset. I was like, I'm tired of rolling.
But you know what? I didn't know this until, I might be touching on this for what we were going to talk about later. But after I beat it, I saw that there are grayed out other weapons. And I'm
Hero
like,
weapons.
What? You can, it makes sense that you can replay the boss anytime you want. And yes, you can eventually choose which weapon you want to beat it with. But apparently there is some sort of
what it is.
Well, yeah, I know. I only figured this out by our notes. We'll talk about it in a minute. But what I'm saying is I figured it out. And dang it, that's going to be really hard because I hate chargers.
Yep.
I can't stand them.
Let's go ahead and talk about now. So there's hero weapons. It does provide some replayability, I guess. If you're really into the game and you really like the single player, there's a little bit more than just the 32 stages. After you beat it the way they want you to beat it, you can actually go back and beat it using other weapon classes like chargers and blasters and sloshers and things like that. And if you do that, I think you have to beat it. Well, I think every time you beat it, you get the weapon, but in total, you have to go through all the stages 8 times a piece. But if you do that, you will unlock hero weapons that you can then take with you to the multiplayer. So that is something. I don't know how great it is, but it's, if you're really into that loot grind and those weapons are really like, I'll probably go through it with a roller because it's probably a good roller. It's probably worth it. I don't know if I'll go through it with every weapon. I'll probably go through it with like a couple weapons that I don't use all the time, but I might want to use, sometime down the road. So I think it's pretty neat.
I'm gonna do it with all of them, just because
much. You're gonna play the campaign 8 times.
No, you don't replay the campaign 8 times.
I think you have to beat every level with the weapons.
Shut up! No, I thought it was just the boss battles.
Oh, I think I read every level. You have to beat the entire campaign with like the roller.
No.
Well, how about you fact check it? Because I'm pretty sure. I think that
husband is over here nodding at me like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I almost used a bad word.
Fact check. Check me.
Okay, I'll look it up. But man, that makes me mad. No, I really, really, really want all of them.
Well, then you're gonna have to really, really play a lot of this game.
I'm a completionist. This sucks. I'm gonna look.
The last point I want to make on the solo level, or on the solo campaign, the Octocanon, there are these like little overworlds that connect all the levels together in these different stages, and you get dropped in this environment, and you actually have to find the stage. So anybody's listening has never played Splatoon before. You don't just walk up to stage 7 and jump in like a Mario game. They're hidden about this world. They're like these little invisible kettles, and you actually have to paint them to unlock them. And in Splatoon 2, they're definitely better hidden and harder to get to than in Splatoon 1. In Splatoon 1, Kyle, you literally could just kind of walk to most of them. And a matter of fact, when I was thinking about this earlier, Splatoon 1, the only one that I remember having a hard time was like that last world when you had the thing that was flying above and you had to get to the level that would shoot you up there. Like that was the only one that really required like some puzzling. Like you're like, how am I going to get up there? Whereas in these, I mean, I think in World 2, I was like stumped for a bit. I was like, where's the other, what am I missing here? Like I'm missing a stage and I can't find it. And it keeps getting better. So there's like some puzzle elements to the solo campaign as well that should be mentioned. It's not like, you definitely don't notice it as you're playing it, but you'll get stumped from time to time just trying to find stuff around. And, there's some challenge there, which I enjoy. Anything else?
This is crap. You're right.
So she just
right. You're right. But I think what I would do is I would go and do level 1, boom, 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 boom. Level 2, boom, 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 boom.
Oh, no. You got to pick one and then do the whole thing. Or by the time you get to the boss and stuff, you're not going to be well versed enough to get through with them all. There's like a level of getting used to it that you've got to. You can't go from charger to roller back to back.
Yeah, but I feel like if you do it over and over, you like by the time you're done with like at the very end, you're like, okay, I know exactly what to do here. I know exactly what to do here.
Whatever your OCD little head tells you. Let's
Think of how much you have to like jump around, especially in World 2. It took me forever to find the kettles. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine doing that with a roller. You're gonna have to like jump off of buildings to go up them and like go back up. It's gonna be
replayability. But you know what? I'm doing it. I owned every weapon and every piece of gear in Splatoon. Dang, if I'm not gonna do it on this game. So
like that Destiny hook. If we can only get Dev to play it, maybe he'll fall in love with it. Kyle, anything else solo?
No, nothing else solo.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm excited to finally get to this. It's been kind of pointed out already. Salmon Run. Grizzco Industries. This is the new stuff. Like this is brand new. We've talked about some new stuff, but this is completely new way of playing Splatoon that I absolutely adore. I've got some issues with it, but it's probably my favorite part of the game. I really love playing Salmon Run. It's really fun. So listeners, Salmon Run is the new Horde mode in Splatoon 2. And you play, it's just like any other Horde mode. You play where you have these spawning waves of enemies. They've got different classes and stuff. And you play with 2 to 4 friends. Really helps if you can talk to each other, which is kind of a problem. And it's great. I mean, it's so much fun. Caroline, just jump in here. Like, I want to talk about like Salmon Run.
Yeah. Okay. So we played the other night together.
Yeah, we did.
It is I suffer from anxiety. It is an anxiety trip. Number one, you got nightmare fuel bosses, little boss salmonids that come out. The Maws is basically a Jaws fish shark hybrid that you only get warning because all of a sudden it's like this little radar that's around you in a circle, and one of the little anglerfish glowy things is like, hey, guess what? Guess what's coming to eat you?
Why does it bother you so much?
It's just terrifying.
You just move out of the way and throw a grenade. The only time it gets scary is when you go to throw a grenade and you get that no ink warning and you're like, oh no.
Sometimes you don't see it. That's the problem.
I see.
There's so much going on around you, and then all of a sudden, hey, guess what? I'm here. There are some that I'm just like, it's a little thing, but I mean, it's just really, really. You have to be on your toes the entire time. And I don't know. I'm glad I have friends to play it with, because I tried playing it with a couple of randos. And every time I've played it with randos, for whatever reason, we have not gotten the job done every single time. Like, I think like maybe the 2 times I've tried to play with randos. So I'm just going to have to get all of my friends together and be like, guys, we're playing Salmon Run. I need the gear this month. It's like a new monthly gear thing. I like the incentives. I really like the incentives.
Yep.
I ended up, you get these random gotcha balls and you don't know what they are. It took me forever to figure out where you turn them in to get your bonuses. But they are like around the back, and there's like a little window and you turn them in. I ended up getting 16,000 cash out of one of them. It was pretty sweet. And that's all from just playing like, a few matches, and the matches probably take about 10 minutes to do all 3 levels.
Yep.
Man, it's so fun. It's so addicting. It's just really, really terrifying.
Now that I've collected my thoughts, the one thing that I wanted to say, so you're on this stage, it's just one stage. You play through the first 2 waves, and then usually on the 3rd wave, the level floods. Man, when you get that steel eel after the level has flooded, you have like no room to really dodge or move. Like you have to take them out, and if you get cut on the wrong side, like that's just, you're done. Like that's it. There's not a lot of fun. But the enemy classes are great. The little fish that like come at you on the ground, like the little chihuahua fish that like just nibble at your
small
heels.
Fries. Yeah.
Those are the ones that I have the hardest time with, because you're right. Like I guess I can appease with your with the malls, is that I never see them. I'm just never looking at them, and I'm like all of a sudden I'm like dying. I'm like, why? And so it's great, and I love playing with friends. This mode is only available 12 hours a day, and it's not the same 12 hours every day.
You know what? I haven't had that issue. Like I just like if we've wanted to play Salmon Run, which is like
you weren't playing last night when the servers are down.
Oh, were they down during time Salmon Run was supposed to be on?
Yeah. Well, last night when the servers were down, you can't play Salmon Run without network. Well,
yeah, I understand that, but I mean, like, were they supposed to be up?
Oh, that I don't know. I'm sorry. That
I don't know. Okay, but I mean, like every time I've been like, hey, I want to play Salmon Run, it's been up. So maybe it's just I checked the app and I haven't been paying attention to it.
Okay, so and we'll probably kind of get into one of the cons, but before we do that, Kyle, you played Salmon Run?
So, Donnie, guess what mode I was most excited for in Splatoon 2?
Salmon mode.
Correct.
Salmon mode.
Guess how many times I have gotten to play Salmon Run?
0.
Exactly. Why?
Bless.
Because every time I try to play it, it's not available.
So let's burn this con then, because I've got a major con with this game. So Splatoon 1, Splatoon's always been a little picky. There's always been this little sub thing that it's never really bothered me until now. And even now, like I'm kind of with you, Caroline, it doesn't incredibly bother me. But so in Splatoon, the multiplayer maps are always on rotation. So you can't pick and choose which 8 maps you want to play. You can even play all 8 in a row. Like only 2 of them are on rotation at any given time, and you just got to wait for them to pop up so you can play the new ones. And I don't know why they do that. I really don't. I don't know what the incentive is. Maybe it's, I don't know, they run their servers. I don't know what it is.
To keep it fresh.
Yeah, that's dumb. But you know what? To be honest with you, I've never hated a map so bad that I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. So that never bothered me. But to have an entire mode not available for 12 hours of a day, makes no sense to me. Because even with the map rotation, it's not like you just can't play Turf War. Like, it's always available. It may just be on a map that you don't like as much as the other time of the day. But with Salmon Run, you could literally try to go play it. So like us right now, I have no idea when Salmon Run's up. What if I said after the podcast, we're going to play Salmon Run? And then after the podcast, it's not up right now. We just can't. That's stupid. I don't understand why. I really, really don't. It's really dumb.
It's because Mr. Grizz
is
a what? What?
You're gonna use the in-game narrative to defend the last
No. I'm not. I'm coming up with my own headcanon.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
Mr. Grizz is a bear. Grizzly bear. Bears have to hibernate. So
not every day.
He hibernates 12 hours out of the day. He's a poor little sculpture. Give him a break.
Sleeping in.
So those ways if that were the case, we should be able to play it for like 3 months.
If I had the opportunity, I would sleep 12 hours a day. I really would. I don't blame him.
And on top of it only being on this 12-hour rotation, and you know what? The rotations, when I looked it up, the rotations aren't that bad. Like, they're typically from like 8 to 8 or from like 12 to 12. So there's usually some time every day I think people can play. But I also don't like that you can't play this like solo, or at least locally. So in Splatoon 1, Kyle, there was a local co-op split screen where you could battle against another person and split screen. And I could hand the controller to my kid, and we could just fight each other. And it wasn't that great, but it was something we could do. It'd be really cool if we could do it again. Salmon mode would be perfect. Like, if me and my son could just pop in together and just play it as a team, I probably would have played a lot more Salmon Run this week than I did. But you can't. You have to be connected to network, except that you can play it locally if you have 2 or more switches, which basically means you need a network, because I don't know any family. And I'm not saying that there's not one. So I'm going to say a blanket statement. No, I don't mean it applies to everyone. I mean, it applies to most people. Most people don't have multiple switches in the household. So it kind of rules it out, which I don't like. And
it just incentivizes your friends to all get one, and for all of them to come together so you can have LAN switch parties.
Man, I bet Splatoon would be a lot of fun. Like, if we could get PSVG together, I bet we actually could have a lot of fun. It'd be a lot of fun if you get 3 or 4 folks together and play at the same time. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't understand why it is. I don't think it has to be that way. And I hope at some point in time, Salmon Run gets an update where it's not, and it's available all the time, because they're missing out. Like, it's a really fun. It's just like, it's like a server cost problem with Nintendo. It's like they pay so much a day for the servers, so they're like, we'll just save some money if we turn them off half the day. Like, most people are asleep anyway. We'll just turn them off at night. Like, I don't understand. What's the reasoning? Somebody needs to get Koizumi in a room. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Our next question comes in. So Seth asks, Salmon Run is a great mode. Do you expect a new map soon? And thoughts on the limited availability, which I've already covered, but let you guys jump in.
I like it a lot, and I'm probably only going to play it every so often. A, when my friends are available, B, when it's available, and C, when there's like new incentives coming out. So like, there's a new piece of gear every month. I've already gotten the gear for this month. I am really hoping for a new map. Like, I mean, this thing, yeah, you have like a certain time where, well, number one, you don't know where they're coming from to start. But also they have the tide coming in and out on the far end of the map sometimes. And that spruces it up a little bit, but in general, the map is already getting kind of stale. And I would really like to have more islands to go to. I think that's definitely going to be a part of some free DLC down the road.
Kyle?
Yeah, I think that, I would love to play the current map once. But so clearly I have an issue with the availability. Now, are there times that it was available that I was probably available that I could have played it? Probably. But I have other responsibilities, like playing games for PSVG. So I have to make these choices, and sometimes other things win out. But I have to imagine, because of all the positive feedback, and it's pretty easy to go online and find many, many articles and many people saying that this is the best part of Splatoon 2 is Salmon Run. And I think Nintendo, though they sometimes do things in their own way, I think they clearly hear that, and they know that. I think they are very aware that they have something. So I would be far more surprised if we never see a new Salmon Run map than if we did see a new Salmon Run map. And probably we'll get multiple of them, I would think.
I agree. That was one of my cons with the game. So in addition to new maps, I was even thinking I wouldn't even be opposed to if they just kind of change up the style a bit. Like maybe they did it during the daytime and maybe the beach was like sandy and the skies were like blue and stuff. And it was like real nice and sunshiny. And even like maybe there was like a nighttime mode where it was like real dark and like the ocean was black. And then
we've already got the issue with the fog though. Like I played in the fog, like a complete fog one time.
Mm-hmm.
That was, ooh, that is a game changer though. I mean, we failed immediately because we couldn't find the basket.
Man, it makes me want like Splatoon zombie mode.
This is basically Splatoon zombie mode. I mean, this is zombie mode. You know, absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I think like the atmosphere is cool on its own. It's kind of got that apocalyptic feel as it is right now. But yeah, a daytime and a nighttime would be fine. But I feel like not only is the atmosphere kind of lending itself to this, but the time frame too, from you can only have it this time to this time, is when the salmonids appear. Now I know Nintendo can do away with that and everything, and eventually it can be, oh well, these salmonids, you know, now they're appearing 24 hours a day because we have this mass influx and they're really taking us over. But I think they're trying to lend it to, this is kind of a rare event and you're going to be a part of it. And these creatures are only awake at certain parts of the day. So maybe that's why the atmosphere is the same, that it's always for whatever. That's just my theory. I don't know.
I can totally see that. I think the problem is that it's probably offered too often then. Like when things do special events, it's like once a month for like these 3 days you get to do this thing, and then everybody jumps in and everybody's only doing this thing.
Splatfest.
Right,
like a Splatfest, exactly. Whereas this is kind of like this weird middle ground where it's like, yeah, it's special, but I'm more frustrated that I can't. For me, that I'm more frustrated I haven't been able to play it than I am like, oh, this is a special cool thing I get to do. So I think they're trying to maybe have it be that middle ground, and I don't think it works super well that way.
I think you're both wrong. I just think it's dumb. I think somebody had an idea, and I think it's a dumb idea, and I think they need to change it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I really
maybe they did not know how this mode was gonna blow over, and they're like, we'll make it available.
But why would you limit it if you didn't know what it like? Why not just? There's been plenty of games in Nintendo where they've put up a mode that nobody liked. They just patch it out. Right? They just like, well, nobody likes it, so let's just patch it out.
It's kind of difficult to patch out an entire part of the lobby or the
have you done it before?
Plaza and stuff. Maybe they are giving it a test run and they're like, if enough people like it, we will make it a permanent 24-hour thing.
And that brings us to another point. I mean, Splatoon 1, when it launched, was not the game that Splatoon 1 we all loved, a year later. And Splatoon 2 does have the promise of future updates and DLC. So I guess the one excuse that I could accept is maybe they've got some DLC planned for this mode, and maybe they're holding it. Maybe they're like, let's just kind of hold it off so we can give them some more stuff. That said, I do think what's in the package Splatoon 2 warrants the purchase. There's a lot of game here. Definitely a lot more than Splatoon 1 gave you.
What if they're making another map that's going to be available the other 12 hours?
That would make a lot of sense. Absolutely. Like, and then they just rotate the map every other day. It could be like a day-night thing, but yeah, definitely something like that. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And we might get an update, 6 weeks from now, we get a little Splat Direct and they're like, Grisco expanded to the whatever. Here's a new map. Yeah, I could see something like that. All right, so let's move towards wrapping it up. Got some questions here. I honestly think the most important question, when Splatoon 1 was announced, the very first thing that you heard, especially from Wii U owners, Kevin, was, it's another port, just like Mario Kart. I'm tired of paying for ports again. It doesn't deserve it too. So I asked you, Caroline.
In Kevin's defense, he has gone back on what he originally said.
I know.
But go ahead. Sorry.
Caroline, does Splatoon 2 earn its number?
Absolutely. Actually, I would rank it at number 1 over the original game. I just think that it is absolutely beautiful. I'm finding myself more addicted to it than I was with the original game. The modes are great. everything that was not originally available to us that we had to wait for in DLC being released is already readily available. So for those veterans that are playing it now, it's good that we don't have to wait and earn all of that stuff again through DLC. I am actually really excited to see what new stuff they will unveil for DLC. And it is, yeah, it's number one in my heart.
As the only other person on the show that played Splatoon 1, I absolutely agree. The visual upgrades, the amount of modes that are available, the amount of maps are available, the amount of content's available, Salmon Run, the improved multiplayer, like it's totally a sequel. It's better, I think, in almost every way to the original. It's really good. I would say if you have a Switch, I think it's a must buy, even if you've never played it before. I mean, it's
I think
definitely
it's a system seller. I mean, the system is selling, but I mean, you can see what's happening in Japan right now. I think they've sold 670,000 copies of this game in less than a week, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, the outreach in Japan, it's bigger than it is here. But
honestly,
I mean,
I think
we love it here too.
They could have sold this game turf war. I mean, I know they wouldn't, but I'm saying, like, if we had never heard of Splatoon before and they just came out with turf war, people would still buy it and it'd probably still be worth it. It's that much fun. Everything else you get is just kind of icing on the cake.
Sure.
So I want to ask you, and we'll go to Kyle. Are you using any Amiibo or SplatNet?
No.
Just no to both?
No.
You didn't even install the app?
No. Oh, I have the app, and I looked at it, and I kind of looked at it one time, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And that's all I did.
The app's not, but SplatNet is. SplatNet is cool. I like SplatNet. I'm using SplatNet. It tracks your stats. You get some exclusive gear over there. So for those loot grinders and stuff, you can get some exclusive gears over there, which is nice. I'm also using Amiibo. Kyle, do you know what Amiibo do in the game?
They save your loadouts?
Yes, they save your loadouts, and you can get new gear for registering the Amiibo. So you register the Amiibo and you get new gear.
So, well, be clear, Donnie, you're using your Amiibo cards.
I am using my Amiibo cards. Absolutely. I'm rocking the girl Inkling for my loadout. My son has the boy. My daughter's got the squid. And yeah, absolutely, they're fantastic. Great cards. I don't know, frame from that. I support it. Absolutely, the cards are better because you know what I can do with mine that most people can't. I put them in my pouch and take them with me to work. So it's fantastic.
I have a purse and I carry my babies in my purse. I got corn over here.
That's weird.
Yeah, well, I'm using all of them. They're
waiting for somebody to check your bag at a door, and they're like, "Ma'am, explain to me what's walking around with plastic figurines
chips in there." But then you're just like, I'm a mom. These are my kids' toys.
Where are your kids? Why do you have them?
At daycare. I don't have kids. But I have all of the Splatoon amiibo from the original game, and I got the 3 from this game, and I'm hoping and praying for Pearl and Marina.
We're getting those.
Just like they had for Callie and Marie. I really want a Judd amiibo. I mean, like, I think that a Judd, Lil Judd combo would be absolutely freaking adorable.
I actually might buy those amiibo.
Oh, that would be great.
Are you going
to buy a Pearl Marina?
No.
Oh, you're talking about the physical copy. Oh, okay, I gotcha.
No. Yeah, I actually might buy a Judd just to have him on the thing. Like, well,
I'm so excited.
A fat cat amiibo. That's amazing.
So I've got Judd and Lil Judd plushies coming next month, and then month after I've got their faces coming. So I'm really excited to get to add them to my collection. What was the question? I'm trying to remember.
If you're using Amiibo or SplatNet.
I'm using Amiibo, and I'm using SplatNet, and I've actually ordered a ton of gear from the SplatNet and gone to merch to get it. So that is probably my favorite thing out of SplatNet so far. Just being able to, the gear is actually, I was like, this isn't exclusive. After I looked at it for a while, it's not exclusive. Yes, it is. The gear that you get is the same kind of gear that you get in the game. However, oh, look at you showing these off. Those are actually really, really nice.
Are they? Yeah. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Really nice.
So like anybody that's never seen them before.
I like the gloss. Those are pretty neat.
They're like credit cards. They're heavy.
Nice. How much did you pay for those?
The set I got for $20.
See, no, I'd rather buy my figurines.
It includes the new ones. That's like $3
Oh, the new ones too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I only grabbed a handful that I could grab. So I think the new ones are upstairs. But yeah, I got the purple squid and the other one too.
I looked at the SplatNet gear that you can order, and the abilities on these are completely different. The starting abilities are completely different from the ones that you get in game. So I have been on the lookout for a 3-slotted ninja squid piece of armor for my body because I haven't found one in game yet, and I just am a collector of all gear. So every time I get it, I'm like, I wonder which one I would use more often. SplatNet, I think SplatNet is really neat. I've used it for the voice chat, and I've used it for the what?
The voice chat's not good. It's not a good solution.
Well, it's not, but you know what? It is something that I feel like is as a necessity in Salmon Run. It's like,
oh no, I agree with you there. I think being able to talk to your friends is helpful. I just don't think SplatNet's a good option for it. Now, they kind of talked about on the podcast last week. I don't want our Splatoon 2 review to be. I don't want anybody to detract from the game because of Nintendo's app, right? So it's separate. It's not good. We showcased it, us trying to use it. Kyle, I'm not sure if you watched this, man. Us trying to use it. We had to send like 15 messages. Like, you almost need an app to talk to each other before you get on the Nintendo app. Like, the idea that you can't just start talking to your friends while you're setting everything else up is asinine. Like, you have to set up it's almost like you all have to sync your in-game choices before you can talk to each other. It makes no sense because we have no idea, like, who's opening up the room, how are you getting to that room, like, how are you letting other people know? Like, you need there's a whole other thing of communication that has to happen.
So basically, you all have to jump on Discord and talk to each other before.
Yeah, or Twitter. Exactly. That's exactly what has to happen. Exactly. It's a train wreck. Like, it's absolutely terrible. I mean, there's nothing. When we started it, now, okay, to say a good thing about it, it works well. Once we were in, sounded great. We talked to each other. I had no problems hearing anybody. It sounded as good as any other app I've ever had before. So for that matter, it sounded great. And for any streamers out there, I just played it on my speaker on my phone, right in front of my microphone, and we just streamed the chat app right over YouTube. So not the best solution, but it's a solution, which is better than no solution, I guess. But it's not the chat app that we need. So
nope. It's something that every time I play Salmon Run, though, I am going to absolutely 100% use it.
Sure. And I think it is a little disservice because I read some reviews for Splatoon when it launched, and I don't think I read a review that didn't mention the app. And that's not really fair to Splatoon, the video game, because the app is more than Splatoon, right? And the Nintendo Switch Online app is going to be for all online games, going forward. Like, you're going to have Smash rooms and cart rooms and all that. And it's not fair for Splatoon to take that, to take that brunt.
But I think it is fair to say a game that is a multiplayer shooter doesn't have in-game chat. Like, I think that's a fair one, but you're right. If you have an issue with the app itself, that's a little bit different.
That's not Splatoon's fault. Splatoon's better if you play it with friends, especially if you can talk to each other. I don't care whether you use their app. It's much easier for us just to use Discord. And that's fine. We can use Discord. It's not like we're paying for it yet anyway. So it doesn't matter. It's free. Nobody paid $60 for it or anything like that. So let's wrap it up. You guys have any other pros or cons that you'd like to throw in here before we give it a score?
God, I think we've talked about everything. I mean, you guys have mentioned your cons, and they're cons that don't bother me as much, but I can understand and respect them. I'm kind of just I don't know, guys. I'm kind of in the Nintendo can do no wrong because I'm such a fangirl.
Well, it's a good thing I'm here then.
Thank you. Thank you. Save us from this, Kyle.
If I'm a little scatterbrained, it's because my husband is actually playing single player right now, and I'm watching him on the TV. But I'm absolutely in love with the game. I'm kind of jealous that my husband's going to be at home now while I'm going to be at work, and I'm not going to be able to play this while he's going to play. He's making a face at me right now. I'm not going to be able to play it. Like, he's going to be able to play it. It's an absolutely wonderful game, and I'm probably going to play this as much as Breath of the Wild, you guys, like the 200 plus hours that I've put into Breath of the Wild. It's going to be into Splatoon 2 easily. It's a great game. If you don't have it yet and you have a Switch, you need to buy it. If you don't have a Switch, I pity you, and get one as soon as possible so you can play this awesome game.
All right. Sit back, grab a chair, settle in. I got some concerns.
Push.
Number one, and some of these have been sprinkled throughout, but I might want to expand upon them a little bit. Number one, and I just said it a minute ago, the lack of an in-game chat is frankly astonishing to me. You have a ranked mode, a game you are selling as an esport. You see people in the commercials playing in stadiums, but you can't talk to each other in the ranked mode. How is that reasonable? Like, how is that a thing? I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. So that, to me, is a huge concern, especially as someone who takes my multiplayer shooters very seriously. I played a lot of Halo 3, all of the Call of Duties up until like 2 years ago, like hundreds of hours of multiplayer. Overwatch, like, is the game I play. Like, I am skipping the Doomfist release to be here and talk to all of you. That's how much I am committed to PSVG. I should be punching fools. But instead, I'm here talking about Splatoon. But anyway, so that to me is bad. It's very sad to me that is not there. The fact that when you join your friends' lobbies for Turf War, you may or may not be on their team. That to me is kind of weird. Like, if I specifically join your game, the fact that I might end up on the other team and might always be on the other team is really odd to me. The fact that you can't change your weapons mid-game, super bizarre. I know the games are short, but if I start and getting totally worked, I just have to get worked for the rest of the game, and that just isn't fun. There's not a lot of fun that can be had there. The further fact that once you then get out, you have to completely quit if you want to change your gear. Like, every other multiplayer shooter game has this figured out. You can buy gear, you can change gear, you could do all of that while you're waiting for the next match. You cannot do that in Splatoon 2 at all. And that, to me, is a big deal as someone, like I said, who I really think about the strategy. Like Donnie knows, I was like, well, how does this work? And why does this go this way? And how does this happen? Like, that's the way I play my shooters. Like, I care about those things. And once you click if you want to stay in and you get into the point where there's that 180 or whatever it is countdown, how do you leave? If something comes up and you have to leave, how do you leave?
And you actually get penalized. You actually get penalized if you leave. That's the other thing.
That just blows. They're like, hey, we think you're being a crappy person. We're going to keep an eye on you. And you get
like, actually, no, you couldn't fill the room. And I waited for minutes. And I'm
so map rotate. I'm not a huge fan of the map rotations every 2 hours. Like, I do, like, since the games are so short, if you play for 2 hours straight, you kind of get a little sick of the map. At least I do. I get a little sick. I'm kind of over these. It's still fun, but I'm a little over these. I don't like the limited time for Salmon Run either. I think that game mode seems to have so much promise. It's the thing I was most excited about for Splatoon 2, and I've yet to play it because of either other responsibilities or what. It's never been available when I've been online, including earlier today when I was playing right before I came in here. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to play it. Wasn't available. So that is a brief rundown of my concerns, which I'm sure Caroline thinks are all stupid, but they're important to me, darn it.
I respect them, and I understand.
She accepts your viewpoints. Now, Kyle, I think most of those are on my list, actually. I think all of those are very valid. The one about not being able to play with your friends on their team, that's what League's for. So, I mean, you just level up, and then you can go to the League mode, and then you and your friends can play together all the time. So,
but I'm not high enough level yet. Why am I excluded?
So you got to play. Like, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind you earning that. That doesn't. I wouldn't call that a con. I guess that's at least for me. I really wish I could play salmon mode and solo mode. I really wish I could play salmon mode like local co-op, but at the very least, I wish I could play salmon mode by myself. I wouldn't mind taking on waves by myself. I play zombies by myself, and really enjoyed it. So that type of stuff, let me see the best way of wording this. I think it's unfortunate that all of the maps from the first game aren't also included. I think this would be a lot. I don't understand why they're not included. I guess that's the better way. Like, you already built the maps. Why not just include them? And the answer probably is that they're coming in DLC.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's probably the answer. But why not just take the 6 maps you built, give us all the maps you did before, and then just give us new maps as DLC. Like, why do we have to wait for the same maps we always had? Specifically, I really loved Camp Triggerfish. It floods. Like, that's the coolest.
Absolutely
that was
cool.
yeah.
It's one
So
of
in the
my
first game, Kyle, Camp Triggerfish has these floodgates. Halfway through the match, these gates lift, and all the ground level of the is done. You can't do that anymore. You got to get up because these floodwaters rise and you all die. So that's neat.
Wasn't it Battlefield that called that Levolution?
Levolution, yes. The lack of Levolution in this game is a con. Also, Kelp Dome was
I
a
loved
real
Kelp
big
Dome
favorite.
too. But
So,
unpopular opinion, Arowana Mall was probably my favorite. And
that
it
was
was
a good
available.
looking one.
It was available for, yeah, it really was. It was available from the get-go. It's very skinny and linear. And if you got screwed on one side of the map, there were chances that if the back way was taken up, you weren't getting through. But yeah, I really hope that a lot of these old maps from the original game make it into the new game.
Yeah, me too. The Kelp Dome was cool, Kyle, because you had the ground level and they had all these different like mazes and platforms and stuff. And it was actually very corridor based. Like everything was kind of very linear on the ground. And then up top, you had these grates, like these bridge grates. So if you tried to swim, you just fall. But you could just get up top and like just walk to the other side and jump off and get back down in the battle and stuff. It was really neat. A lot of people would camp out up top with chargers and just like rain havoc on down. It was a good one. I liked it. It offered a lot of different ways to play because you could get up top and just rank up kills because you could see everybody. But you really probably weren't getting much paint down from up there. Like you kind of needed to get down to the fray to lay some paint. So I think that's a worthy con. Some of the other cons, what I've already brought up, the lack of more of the local co-op split screen. I think Salmon could have been that. It'd been better if Salmon had more maps. It'd be better if it wasn't on rotation. It'd be better if the rotation for the actual multiplayer maps were more than what they had. Like, I don't mind them rotating, but throw another 2 or 3 in there. I agree with you, Kyle. If you play, dude, the first day I played, like I streamed and played online with you guys, Caroline, I think we played for like 6 or 7 straight hours. You get bored. Yeah. Now you also get really good at the map. So like the adverse side of that is you really learn the map. But no, I mean, I would like more adversity. You know, in the stuff that you mentioned, Kyle, with being able to swap out your gear and whatnot, the thing that makes it really, really a con to me, because I agree with you, is that Mario Kart does it all. Mario Kart lets you swap maps. Like they let everybody vote on a pair of 5 maps and you get to play. And Mario Kart lets you swap cars and swap gliders and swap wheels, and you can do all of that in between matches. I don't understand why Splatoon can't do what Mario Kart can do. You know, like I understand. So you're like all other modern shooters. Well, Call of Duty's been raking in money and money and money, and they've been building on it for a decade. I understand Nintendo not being at that level. I don't understand Nintendo not being at the same level as their other game. Like that's the different level. I'm like, well, why can't it do what your other game can also do? So that type of stuff, I think that's very fair. So let's finish it. We're gonna score it. Kyle, do you want me to go first or last?
I want you to go first.
Okay. I think it went last in our last review cast because the last person, the anchor, can really play with the final score. So that's important. So for all the cons that I just read out, and we just had like a little 10-minute wine session. For all the cons that we just ran out, the game is amazing. The game is fantastic. I think it's a must-buy if you have a Switch, even if you don't play shooters, and even if you've never played it before. I think you owe it to yourself to play it and try it because it's that good. I think it offers enough variety that, like I said before, I think anybody will find something they like to do in this game. And it may not be Turf War, it may not be Salmon Run, it may not be the campaign. But between those 3, I bet you like one of them. You know, it's available. It appeases to young children all the way up to the hardcorest of multiplayer shooters, and that type of game just doesn't come around much. So I really, really enjoy it. The amount of content and the polish that it has is superb. For all the things we don't like about it, I mean, it just overwhelms you with other things. Like I said before, if it was just Turf War, I think plenty of people would have bought it for $60. That mode alone is really good, and most people, I wouldn't put it past. I bet a lot of people just play that mode. I bet they buy this game, you know, and just like Madden, where they just go online, or Call of Duty and they never touch the story, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of Splatoon players just play Turf War and that was it, because it's that good. I mean, it is really that good.
That's really honestly what I've been doing majority of the time. Like I seriously have neglected Salmon Run and single player like I should be. giving equal attention to everybody, but I haven't been doing it.
Yep. So with all that said, knowing that there's DLC coming, knowing that this game, the first version Splatoon on Wii U, was one of the few games I've ever known IGN to have to change their score. That's how much Splatoon changed from day 1 to day 365. Like, they had to go back and revise their score. So just knowing that that stuff's coming, whether it's good or not, just knowing that it's on the thing, I'm going to give Splatoon 2 a score of 88. I think it's a really, really good game. I think it's got flaws. I definitely do. I think those flaws might get polished. We don't have a locked, strict review score. So if we get like twice as much game and everything gets fixed a year from now, I'll totally go back and revisit it. But right now, I'm going to give it an 88. Kyle.
Well, Donnie, you said that, we don't have a strict thing. I'm going to read something to you and see if you feel like this is, with everything I've said, where I fit. Good games that fall just short of being great for the reasons outlined. The reviewer generally enjoys playing the game, but outlines flaws, including potentially large ones. Does that sound like about where I am?
I would say so, but I'd ask you, what are your potentially large flaws? Because I don't think your flaws are large.
Well, they are for me, though. Well, okay. But they are for me. Because, like I said, for how I play, the fact that I can't swap weapons mid-game, like, that stuff's a big deal to me.
Okay.
Now, is it for most people? Probably not. But for me, it is a big deal.
Well, we can't argue with personal opinion, so I won't try.
Well, you can. It's fine. And it does say potentially large ones, not that they have to be large ones. That is on our website is the score range for a 70 to 79.
Correct.
Now, I'm actually going to give the game an 80. I think it is a solid game. I think it has some flaws that, to me, I think are a big deal, but I think most people would overlook. But there are some things I think make it still a bit inconvenient or not as awesome as I think it could be. Because I think a few small changes that wouldn't be a big deal would really catapult this game up much higher for me. I think it's a lot of fun. I think that everything I've done with it I enjoyed. It's just these decisions that were made in design that just kind of boggle my mind, that I'm like, I don't understand why this is this way. And for me, I know it affects my enjoyment of it a little bit. Sometimes quite a bit, depending on how the particular game goes. So I overall would give it an 80, knowing I have not finished the single player and I also have not played Salmon Run yet. So this is a provisional 80. I reserve the right to change it once I've actually finished that single player and actually gotten a chance to play Salmon Run.
Absolutely. And we always reserve the right to change our review scores. I started us off from day one with that in mind. Kyle, just to wrap up your thoughts, just because I feel like you're leaning heavy on the back end with the cons. So I just want to get a statement from you regarding this. Do you think it's worth purchasing?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. And an 8's still a good score. Like, it's
no,
not
I know that.
By any means.
I know that. I just wanted, for the listener, it's like Kyle doesn't like the game. I wanted, just to, do you think it's worth buying?
Oh, absolutely. Like, to me, it's a no-brainer purchase. It is an excellent game. I think it is a game that Nintendo will continue to leverage and build on, and it should, because it's a cool experience. It's a really unique way to have and it's not a first-person shooter, so I don't know why I always say that, but a lot of people do, to have a shooter. Yeah, because it's technically not first person.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. I guess you're right. I always say it too. Like, even now you're saying it, I think I say it too. I just feel like I'm in that mode when I'm playing.
Right. But I think it is a cool thing, and I think the thing that's nice about it is, like you said before, whether you're 6 or 60, like, this is a game you can have a lot of fun with, and I think that's really cool and something sorely missing in a genre of game I really enjoy playing.
Caroline, you're in the anchor chair.
I've already said my piece on it, so I'm just going to give it a score. My score is a 94.
94 divided by 3, 87.5. Give it 88, which is my score. So
you were right, Donnie. Donnie was right.
Yep.
All right. Before we say goodnight to both of you and the listeners, I got one final question for you. Splatfest next week, Mayo or ketchup?
Ketchup! It's Ed and Eddie said ketchup. So
I'm team ketchup for nothing more than the last 5 seconds of this podcast.
That really? I love ketchup, guys. I keep a ketchup stash at work. I put ketchup on everything. I dip my steak in ketchup. I'm not even kidding, and I know that makes people angry, but I love ketchup. I only put mayonnaise on turkey sandwiches, and I only put them inside of
That's
like.
the saddest news.
I know.
Be quiet.
Steak and ketchup?
What are you
It's a
doing?
child thing that I never grew out of, like video games. So they go hand in hand. Leave me alone.
Kyle.
Well, here's the thing. Number one, this is the first one that they come up with, really? For
not
what
the first
game
one,
is
it's the
out?
second one.
For the game being out, though.
That's
Like
true.
I will say I was disappointed with the like. This is the
terrible.
one that Europe gets, and Europe
Yes.
is like always given crap for like, seriously, guys, this is y'all's Splatfest.
It's terrible.
And I wasn't exactly pleased with the idea, but it's a no-brainer for me which one to pick.
I think it's tough because I use ketchup and mayo on very different things, and I like both of those things a lot. One of those things that I never use either of them on, though, is steak, because that's wrong.
Yeah,
But
that's
anyway,
sacrilegious.
I think if I had to, like, I go with if I could live without, which one would I rather live without? And I guess I'd rather live without mayo, so then I guess I have to go ketchup.
Okay. I don't care. So I put on Twitter, I don't care. So I let Caroline choose for me. She chose ketchup, and then she just did that awesome thing for us, which we're going to totally turn into a bumper and use many, many times over and over again. I do think it's bad. I think it's a terrible start. I don't understand, with all of the Pepsi cross promotion that they're doing, why Coke Pepsi wasn't the first one out of the gate.
Well, between Pepsi cross promotions, they can't risk Pepsi losing.
Yeah.
Well, they can always fudge the numbers, right?
That's true. That's true.
We don't know who won at all. So I still Team Cake could have won. Who knows? Like maybe Miyamoto was like, I like ice cream, thumbs down, and just that was it. So all right, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning to the PSVG podcast. Remember, you can find us and all of our reviews and podcasts and thoughts and opinions over at placeandvideogames.com. Come follow us on Twitter at PSVG, where we're constantly debating. We had a fun argument the other day regarding the SNES or the NES Classic, as I compared it to special editions of PlayStations and Xboxes and other things that have come out in the past. Definitely come follow us over there. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/placeandvideogames. And in honor of our departed missing Kevin, always, boys and girls, please remember, never stop gaming.